Hello, North Dakota. My name is Patrick Hart, and I'd like to welcome you to the latest episode of Open Range. And I got to shout out really quick, Gary Emineth. Thank you for letting me host shows. Thank you for our sponsors for giving us the studio time. And I am absolutely excited because I'm here today with my two best friends, Katrina Christensen and Trygve Hammer. But before we start talking to them, I just want to let you guys know that I'm kind of excited for this Teddy Roosevelt, library to open. And as this is coming up in the next week, 10 days, we're seeing a lot of the man in the arena speeches, the famous quote, and it's on Facebook, it's on my feed. And I bring this up because the part of it that I find funny is that everyone focuses on the line, the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena. And I think they're focusing on the wrong part. See, it's important, but it's not the best part. The meaning in his quote is really in the closing, where he says, who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And what that means to me is that you got to activate. We need you to lean in and to go on this journey with us, to get people like Trygve elected. We need you at meetings, helping move the party forward. And if you don't know what to do, I get it. It's daunting. But I would tell you just to simply do what you're good at, what you get energy from. If you like making bars from an event, then make bars. If you like calling people, asking for money, asking for volunteers, then call people. And if you like writing thank yous, please do, because I don't. But we need you more than ever to, again, get people like we've had interviewed all cycle, get people like Trygve Hammer elected. We need to get them across the finish line. And all I need you to do that is simply to lean in and to be you. I met both of our guests today well before any of us were the people that you see here today. And we leaned in. And like Teddy said, we failed while daring greatly. And in those efforts, we learned and we grew to be the people who we are here today. So my ask today is this: come grow with us. Because I think you'll be surprised at who you turn out to be. And with that, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Senator Katrina Christensen.
Not quite, Senator.
Well, I know, but I call you that. That's the thing,
I
right?
know, that is true, Pat. Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm excited to have a conversation with my two best buds. So thanks for having me.
And Trygve Hammer, you're running.
I am running again. And since we have that out in the open, I want to let people know that both my campaign, the Fedorchak campaign, actually Alex Balaz's campaign, before the primary, we were all invited to a debate at the Big Iron Farm show. It'd be sponsored by Ag Week in Fargo in September. So I said right away, yes, name the day, name the time, and I'll be there. So I'm sure you're all excited about that, and I would love if you would contact the Fedorchak campaign and let them know how excited you are about this debate that could happen at the Big Iron Farm show. Also hearing from folks in Minot now, a couple different groups are talking about having one when Julie Fedorchak and I are both in Minot for the state fair parade or the state parade. So since we'll both be there, they would love to have the same kind of thing, a debate with an audience, perhaps questions from the audience. I think it would be really, really terrific. It's something that people in North Dakota need, and would get us both out there in front of folks. So also, call the Fedorchak campaign, tell them you're really excited to hear that there might be a debate in Minot and you would love to attend. So just want to get that out there.
Trygve, I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to debate you.
I know.
I have
and
to.
with a crowd, that gives you energy and it's fun, and they come up with questions a moderator might not.
I think I would rather debate you than follow you. See, I've had to introduce both of you guys on stage before, and then I always end up talking afterwards, and it's hard to follow you guys. You guys are class acts. So if you guys didn't know, Trygve is like the funniest guy I've ever met. And now you have to say something funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was when I was a regional airline pilot, I was flying with this guy, and the first thing he told me was, oh, I heard you have a lot of great stories. You know what? So that 3-day trip, I couldn't think of a single story. As soon as I got in the seat, I just like all my stories evaporated. So now I'm going to be dull and boring.
So you flew planes. Tell me about some of the jobs you've had. What brings you into running for U.S. House?
Well, Navy and Marine Corps and all that stuff. And then while I was in the Marine Corps Reserve, I went to Iraq as an infantry officer in the Marine Corps Reserve. I was also at that time regional airline pilot. And then, I went to Rome for a year, and then came back, did the flying thing again, and then have moved on to other jobs. But I came back here to North Dakota, taught 7 to 12 science, was out on the oil rigs in the Bakken, and was a freight rail engineer. So kind of been all over the state, really had my hands in the economy and in the dirt. And what got me into politics was just seeing an absence of someone stepping up persistently. And I didn't come back here thinking, oh, I'm a retired Marine Corps officer, a Naval Academy graduate. They're going to elect me. I just kind of fell into it. So, and that's how I met you guys, and it's fantastic.
So I met you. You and Kelly, your wonderful wife, gave me a ride after a Burdick dinner in Fargo once. And was that in like 2018? That was almost 10 years ago.
It was, yep.
I'm sure I was a lot skinnier then.
Me too.
So you were in the Marines and Navy?
Yep.
What'd you do in the Marines and Navy?
I was Navy nuclear power, machinist mate. So you work down in the bowels of the ship where it's hot, and then I got into the Naval Academy, went Marine Corps, was a Marine Corps helicopter pilot, was a forward air controller, which means bringing in airstrikes, and then when I dropped to the reserves, the first unit I found was an infantry unit, and I joined them out of Memphis, and so I got to go to Iraq with a bunch of people from Tennessee, Arkansas, that whole region. So a lot of Southern farm boys.
I was actually in a leadership class all week at UMary up on the hill, and they were talking about Marines. And he said when the instructor, the keynote, said that when he looked out at a fresh set of Marines, he was thinking, I don't know what the percent is, 60% are going to drop out of the program. And he said when he started, he always thought it was the big beefy guys that were going to get through with tattoos all over themselves. And he said, believe it or not, it was the small, short, stout guys that just didn't have any quit in them. And that's you.
Well, now I feel like the little teapot, short and stout. But it actually there are advantages to when you're running an endurance course and you're crawling under barbed wire and you're running the obstacle course and climbing ropes and all that stuff. It's a relative strength kind of thing.
So when you were flying fighter jets,
Helicopters.
Did you have a call sign? What did they call you on the microphone?
Sledge. Yep.
And I'm going to pivot that one into the joke that's been going on all week.
Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That I got this cool little sheet of all the little to-dos about Trigby. You wanted to call your son Jack?
Yeah, Jack Hammer. It's perfect, but his mom had a say. She had a bigger say than I did, apparently, because my son's named Adam, and then his first sister is Alexandra. We couldn't get past the first chapter of the baby name book.
Nice. So what do you do spare time? Trigby Hammer running for U.S. House.
Well, if I had spare time, I take care of the yard. We've got a garden back there now. I like to hunt and fish, hunt upland game and get out fishing. I just haven't been doing as much of that as I like. Big reader, and of course I write my Punching Up Substack.
When you write, where do you find your motivation for that?
A lot of times it's from the news of the day.
It's not true. It's his wife and it's his cats.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Her
Oh,
cats.
my cats as well. Yes, I often will call Trigby and explain. You will not believe what my cat just did. One of the things that really, becoming very good friends running with you and Trygve is that you're in the car a lot, right? When I was running for US Senate, I went to every county in North Dakota. Trygve and I would often drive places, and we have this running joke between the two of us about being on our way to Oaks, or was it, no, Gwinner.
Gwinner.
We were on our way to Gwinner, and there was a turtle on the road, and we were both just like, oh, we can't let this turtle die, because it reminded us of the Grapes of Wrath. There's a chapter about this turtle crossing the road. Anyway, we were able to bond over those sorts of things. And of course, then when we were on our way back from Gwinner, there's this dead turtle. And of course, you know, it was, I don't know, was it foreshadowing? Who knows? But anyway, we've formed these bonds, and many of his stories that he shares in his Substack come from his real life, come from talking to voters, come from, you know, the experiences that he's lived, which are incredible. And you bond over that. And the thing that I think that makes Trygve an incredible person that should be in the United States House of Representatives representing North Dakota is that this man has a fire in his belly. You know, like he was talking about there being this absence of leadership for North Dakotans. Look, these people that are in these offices, you meet them. They don't have a fire in their belly. They don't care about the people that they met in Gwinner. When we were there, they were suffering, their community was suffering from a suicide of a young man that had been in their community. That was 4 years ago. I still remember that. Trygve still remembers that. And maybe he's drafted something about that. But that's the man that I think should be in the United States House of Representatives, somebody that's willing to spend hours in the car with an engineer talking about boring things occasionally, and remembers who he meets and writes about them and sees the humanity in everything he does.
Love it.
Yeah. The other lesson learned in that Gwinner trip is you never leave a reptile behind.
Right. Oh, I guess I was on camera there. Subjecting. We got to cut to commercial. We'll be back in just a moment.
Look at smaller coins. I mean, it's one thing to invest in it for the world's falling apart, and I need to be able to have something to be able to barter with. And if I have a big bullion cube, you know, a big block, 100 ounce or whatever, it becomes difficult. But sometimes you probably have a mix in a portfolio if you want to be one of those people that take possession of it. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is an awesome question. And I always say there's a dance between price and size. So I'll kind of look at the two buckets that you want to have, you know, covered. One is your long-term buy and hold retirement kind of type, you know, retirement account purchase of gold and silver, the multi-year buy and hold stuff that you don't plan on taking out. You don't want to withdraw your metal from your IRA. You want to leave it in there. You want to protect yourself first and foremost. But of course, the last couple of years, protection actually pays very well, of course. So larger bullion bars, that's what my retirement account is. Okay, it's kilo bars, 100-ounce silver bars, the stuff that you'll pay the least for, because think of it as like, you know, buying in bulk, right? The bigger the bar, the cheaper it is to make, the less you'll pay, the more ounces you'll get. Smaller items have a role in everyone's portfolio, but it's more as like an insurance product. It's not so much I'm holding it long term to make the most money. You want to have it in case of some kind of an emergency, but you don't buy insurance thinking or hoping that you need it. You buy it in case you do. So silver coins, I've got a bunch of them in this safe here behind me. I can go down the road and barter with the farmer for eggs or produce or meat or whatever I need in that kind of disaster scenario. So you want to have the insurance bucket ticked. That's the smaller, more transactional type of bullion items that you want at home, at your fingertips at all times. But then the longer term buy and hold, retirement account, wealth preservation type stuff, you want to be in the larger, bigger products that'll allow you to buy more ounces. That's our strategy, and that's what we work with. And everyone's got a little bit of a different situation. So finding that balance between price and size is our goal, and working with every client.
Welcome back to Open Range. My name is Patrick Hart, and I am here with two of my best friends, Katrina Christensen and Trygve Hammer. And Trygve, we want to learn about you today. Did you teach biology?
I did teach biology. I taught grades 7 to 12 science out in Granville, and so biology was one of the courses. That's sophomore year, and you know, I often say that I went to Iraq as a Marine Corps infantry officer in 2003, but I have PTSD from teaching grades 7 to 12 science in a rural North Dakota school.
I don't remember a lot about biology except for the dissection of the frog.
Oh, well, that's everyone's favorite.
I can't forget the smell. That was like 25 years ago. Did you have to do that?
I mean, we did a cat, I think. I don't
cat?
remember the frog.
We did a feral pig and a frog.
I don't know. What, a feral pig?
Fetal pig.
Fetal pig.
There's actually a substantial difference in size. It wouldn't have fit on the
and it
table.
would smell a lot different, I would think. Yeah. I remember a lot from 10th grade biology.
Yeah?
Yeah. R positive for blood type, those sorts of things. Yeah.
Just the girl across the aisle. That's the only thing I remember. Yeah, so what do you guys think? We're running this cycle. I had a lot of fun. I got roped into doing 2 parades in the last 2 days with you.
Oh.
Apparently I'm driving back for the 4th of July parade. And if you
nice.
guys have never paraded with Trigby, I have campaigned a couple times. I had like my goofy smile. Parades are kind of weird because everyone's staring at you and I don't, like being that center of attention.
Pat, that is such a lie.
But then I saw Trigby parade for the first time, and you brought it at such a level I can't even describe. Trigby got a piece of candy and ran from one side of the street to the other, and he handed a single piece of candy to every kid, and I couldn't believe it. It was like a rabid mouse. And then I started doing it, and it was so much fun to see the joy in their little faces when you hand them a single Tootsie Pop.
Yep. And it's fun. It's always fun to end a parade with heat exhaustion. That's,
One of my favorite pictures from us on the campaign trail, Trigby is sitting at the end of the Minot parade, and he has this huge sweat ring down, and you're absolutely gassed after running it. But is your whole campaign running like that? Is it?
Pretty much. We're out there. We're not running ourselves ragged this time like we did the last time. We shot for too many events. We would go to events and not have things planned around it. We've pulled back on that. And on the fundraising too. Last time we used like the text messaging and the email messaging, and sometimes you ended up just barely breaking even, and that's not where I want donor dollars to go. So we're being a lot more lean this time, using assets we already have. So that part of it is there, but it's still hard work. And a big difference this time is we've been able to get an audience with Republicans, and they're willing to talk to us. And there's a podcaster up in Minot, writes for the Forum. You may be familiar with him, but on his show they refer to normie Republicans and populist Republicans, which kind of says that, well, these populists aren't normal, and I think it's rather insulting. I've been talking to these folks, and what you learn is you're not going to change each other's minds, but if you stay curious about each other and stay in a conversation, you'll find points of agreement, and you see each other as real human beings, which is why I really want to have more of these in-person events.
Well, I want to pick up with something you said. When you're in conversation and you find that common ground, and we need more of that in politics. We don't need this polarized defining yourself by what you don't believe in. We need to find that middle ground.
I've had a lot of time to think about this, and Trigby and I have talked about this a few times, but I think the thing that has happened is the politics for the Conservative Party has really evolved from conservatism, right? The idea that you would preserve democracy, you would preserve the Bill of Rights, you would preserve the freedom of speech, and all of these things. That is what foundational conservatism was. But it's actually, over the last 15 years, really morphed into this thing about disgust, right? We're not just trying to hold on to these things that we really value. That's conservatism. Instead, we want you to be triggered by names. We want you to be triggered by ideas. We want you to be disgusted that people in the Republican Party would push back to the idea that they don't have local control over where these data centers are going, or they don't have local control over where these pipelines are going. That disgust has fractured this Republican Party, And it has even allowed them to lose sight of their own humanity within their organization. And I think the thing that Trigvi has done really well this cycle is gone into those communities and been like, hey, I'm here to listen, because politics should not be about disgust. It shouldn't be so pointless. It's actually about problem solving and listening. And you can't problem solve unless you're listening.
Exactly. And I haven't seen, I was actually really surprised I saw Julie Fedorchak this season at all. Because as you guys know, when we were campaigning last cycle, I think the only other Republican incumbent I saw was Randy Chrisman. And I'll give him a little bit of credit for showing up to some parades. But I don't know how you listen if you're not involved in your communities.
Yeah, you've got to be out there. You have to talk to everybody. And I think just being out there and being willing to get in front of people makes a big difference. I was knocking doors in Williston, and this gentleman answered, and he was actually from Texas, so he couldn't vote in North Dakota. But we talked politics at the door for a while, and I talked about working in the oil fields. And after I got done talking, I go back to my car to move down the road a little ways and start knocking more doors. And he came running back out and asked for my literature to give to his friends who he worked with who do vote in North Dakota. So, those conversations can go to surprising places. I've knocked on doors and been told, I'd vote for a dog before I'd vote for a Democrat. And I'm, okay. I've had some good dogs in my life, so I can kind of see it. But if you're only pulling from that one box, that Democrat or Republican box, or that conservative or liberal box, you've got such a rigid structure that you can't flex and problem solve as effectively. That's my view. And the one mandate that voters give is go to Washington, do your job, come back and talk to us about what you've done. That's it. You don't have a mandate to get any personal thing done. You're going there to represent the people of North Dakota, and then come back and face them.
I want to pick up on something you put down. You said you worked out in the oil fields. What's your take on oil in North Dakota? I think all too often Democrats get this wide swath with we're all anti-oil and we want our cars to run on green algae. Yeah, that was foreshadowing. What's your take on oil in North Dakota?
Well, now that we have such a great supply of green algae in the reflecting pool, maybe we do need to move to that. But no, we've always been all of the above, but we're also aware that there is this transition coming. We're seeing the technological development, and like AI, it's coming, and what government should be doing, what Congress should be doing is planning for the future. What does it look like for, the Navy moved from coal power to fuel oil before World War II. So if there is a change for coal plants, for the coal industry, if there's a change for the oil industry, and petroleum products, we're going to need petroleum products even if we're not using them to fuel our cars, right? And so there's always going to be that industry. But we cannot just ignore a possible future that's coming. And if Congress continues to do that, then what we're going to end up with, what happens all the time, is the working class takes it in the shorts, and the people who had the money, controlled the industry, they do fine. But now AI has displaced the jobs, or this new energy has displaced the jobs. And when it was automation and trade deals that had made jobs go away, we told people to learn how to code. Well, now coding jobs are going away. So we need to always be thinking of the future, and we need to think of the folks who are out there. The working class just keeps getting left behind. It was 2008, we had too big to fail. The rest of us then are too small to matter. And with this AI coming, and these AI, billionaires and now trillionaire, what's in it for the rest of us? And how's it going to work? And Congress needs to think seriously about these things.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So these, as an engineer, right in your comments, I said it. One of the things that's really problematic with the unregulated data AI centers is that we're not driving innovation. So I just want to point out that they've not been designed to use less water or use less energy. They're designed to be really fast, and they are stealth in their operation in terms of how they end up in your community and how they consume your water and drive up your electricity bills, right? We know that PSC, they're going to drive up the electricity bills. And so what regulation allows us to do is facilitate innovation. And Republicans are so afraid of regulation, and what they need to do is embrace it, because as you've said many times, is that regulation leads to innovation. We could have better chips. We could have chips that use less water and less electricity. And if we're going to be having these data centers, then we should have an absolutely all of the above electrical grid, whatever it is. We should not be zoning out other sources of energy, including renewables. And again, those are opportunities for jobs, it's opportunities for innovation. One of the things that the Republicans have done in the state of North Dakota over the last 20 years is squandered this oil dominance. They haven't created a diverse economy. We don't have anything but ag and oil. And whose fault is that? It's the Republicans' fault. And we're here today with a candidate that has a toolbox, that's worked in the economy, that understands North Dakota communities, and is willing to serve those people rather than himself. And I think, the voters need to really look at this, even with the D behind his name.
Well, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by today. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
So we talk about silver, and we talk about the concept of using it from the health perspective. How did you, Jeffrey Adam, come back to the silver as being that health product, and how does it differ, Micronic silver that is, differ from the other products that are maybe saying they're made with silver as well?
Well, I was blessed enough to meet a gentleman who was a nuclear biochemical engineer. He was proclaimed one of 8 in the world, and he introduced me to silver when I had gotten pneumonia. And it was actually my 4th time in 6 years getting pneumonia. And every time I got sick, it basically took about 3 months to get over. And, massive amounts of prednisone and Z-Paks and a whole lot of money to take 6 months to be fully recovered, where I got my wind back. And when he introduced me to the silver product he had that he made himself, literally in 3 days, the next morning the pain in my lungs was gone. And in 3 days, I was where it took me 6 months of antibiotics to get to. And that's when I was like, well, we really need to start doing something with this. And this gentleman said, no, they will kill you. They don't want you to have it. You're affecting their profits. And that's when I started doing the deep dive into a colloidal silver, which was used for thousands of years. And then as it progressed, they went to an ionic silver, which is a silver ion, not a particle. And then from there, they went to a nano silver, which is a nano particle of silver. And through my education through this gentleman, I learned that, as you're looking with particles of silver, the colloidal silver, when you hear these stories of people turning blue with a condition called ageria, it was from particles that were over 10 parts per million. So when you do a colloidal silver over 10 parts per million, they start forming bigger structures. I equate them to biofilms. They're not actually a biofilm, but they create larger clusters that aren't absorbed into the body. And then people would go out in the sun and it would dye their skin a bluish gray color. And then I looked into a nano silver, and nanos are particles, and they're subatomic particles, and they're changed with static electricity or current, because you can't spin a metal or a mineral fast enough to break it apart. And they're changed with current. Well, when you're sick, your body becomes acidic. And your bodies are polar, so if it's changed with current, it can be flipped and made toxic with current too. So I stayed away from the nano silvers, so that just left the silver ions. And these products have been used for hundreds of years. When it came to the ion and any silver, it's only active in the body for 6 to 8 minutes. When I developed Micronic silver, we made a product that is actually active for 8 to 10 hours. And there's a whole big story behind it.
Welcome back from that commercial break. My name is Patrick Hart. I'm sitting here with a good friend, Katrina Christensen and Trygve Hammer. And we kind of left right at the end, you guys. We were talking about oil a little bit and some data centers. And I'm going to go on the angle that I'm not anti against data centers. I'm not against oil. I just think there needs to be regulation, and I think there needs to be a reclamation process. When I see the size of these buildings that they're building for AI, I think, are they going to sit empty at 2055? And what is that cost to our environment? And like, we reclaim coal lands. Can we reclaim these? Is that good regulation?
Yeah, definitely. When I was out on the rigs, one of the things we did was we plugged oil wells, abandoned oil wells. Plugging those wells was a part of the cost of doing business. So that should have been done by the companies, by the people who made the profit. So we personalized the profit and socialized the cost in that case. And when I was in Marine Corps acquisitions, we would have to plan beginning to end, like from manufacturing all the way through to disposal of the weapon system or other system that we were buying. So that plan should be in there like that. And what we see with these AI data centers politically, why there's so much noise about it, is a lot of it's transparency. People are feeling like they're being surprised by the things. They don't like the idea that sometimes there are non-disclosure agreements between elected officials and private companies. And now all of a sudden they're getting a power line in, and land might get taken by eminent domain. Everybody wants an upgraded grid, right? Why does it take an AI data center moving in to get your grid updated? And what's it going to do to your costs for your electricity? So, they're paying those costs. And then the other part of this that's hidden is, so if you look at Utah, they're getting that large data center in there. The Utah Speaker of the House actually owns land that's going to likely go way up in value when this data center goes in. And same thing with the guy who introduced the law into the Utah, it was either the Senate or the House, to make this data center possible. So, we see a lot of that going on, and we have a lot of public lands issues and private land issues, and people are just kind of fed up. They feel like they're not being listened to, and that things are being hidden from them until all of a sudden, something happens.
I gotta pull the connection to, why does it seem like the impetus to get into public service is to make money? I watched a documentary on Herbert Hoover's the other day, and he lived in this very modest, tiny little home. Jimmy Carter built houses his whole life. But yet we see people like the Speaker of the House in Utah trying to profit off of his service. What's your driving motivation to get into public office? What are you doing this for?
Well, I want to serve. I want to go there and represent people, and then I plan to come back here and live among the people I represent. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, is that when you get there, you're not there for life. It's not your seat. That seat belongs to the people of North Dakota. And I think there's a sense of entitlement now, when it's become so easy for folks to get in this pipeline, like the PSC to Congress pipeline, to think that, nope, this was always their seat. At some point, they were going to have it. It's theirs for as long as they want it. And I think the people of North Dakota are starting to see this and want to pull back from that. And there's also, when I meet with Republicans, they don't like all the money in politics either. Doug Burgum, put money to get his preferred representatives in state government, and now we're seeing a lot of this stuff going on. Well, people are paying more at the gas pump. People are paying more in the grocery store. All these things, and meanwhile, there's this UFC fight, which I enjoy UFC. I used to watch it all the time. But that cost 7 different agencies had to get involved to make this thing happen, and part of it was the Park Service in Doug Burgum's bailiwick. They don't want an arch. They don't think that's necessary or important right now. That's funded by NEH, which falls under Department of Interior. And same thing with the reflecting pool. That another no bid contract, and there's been too many of those. They didn't do a good job. The paint's flaking off. It's full of algae. It was $13 million over budget, and meanwhile we're paying more at the gas pump. So people are tired of that, and Doug Burgum should be standing up for us. Julie Fedorchak should be standing up for us. They should be a check on this. Someone needs to tell the president the truth once in a while, so that these wasteful things don't happen. The ballroom, another example. You know, this is not what Republicans or Democrats or anyone voted for. So, you know, we need some responsibility. And now we see with the presidential library opening in Medora that now Donald Trump is going to be there. And that, you know, great to have a president visit, but it's a huge security problem, or challenge, I should say. And it's going to cause some people who were going to be there to not be able to be there. A lot of people have to change their plans. I've actually worked with the Secret Service in doing security for the Vice President speaking at a Naval Academy graduation, and there was a lot, you know, there's a lot of moving parts involved. But you know, Doug Burgum's Interior Department is wasting a lot of taxpayer money.
Well, it just seems strange to me, and I'm glad that you hit on earlier that conservative was about keeping the institutions. And now I think conservative has the tendency to lean towards the fiscal note, but it seems like the budgets are bigger than ever, the waste is more prevalent than ever, and doesn't seem very conservative to me at all.
No, absolutely not. I think Doug Burgum has assumed a role where he's serving somebody, and that somebody is Donald Trump. It's a form of imperialism to have this response to the reflecting pool. We have this executive that's acting in a really bizarre, selfish manner. And taxpayers are subsidizing the response to this behavior. And Doug Burgum is completely capitulated in his role as DOI and taking park fees that should go to maintaining. I think Theodore Roosevelt Park has like $60 million worth of deferred maintenance.
Yep.
But yeah, we have all of this park fee money going back to DC in this, you know, imperialistic way to satisfy this guy who's just temporarily serving as president. It is not conservatism. It is something else. And so, you know, I think it's really important to, you know, to Trig V's point, to have somebody who's in those roles of the people serve the people.
What's your first thing you're going to do when you get into office this fall?
There's going to be a lot of things on the list. One, it'd be great to have a clean, no more gerrymandering bill. Like, if you talk to voters, it's such an easy issue. Nobody likes gerrymandering. You know, let's get rid of that, and then let's look at some systemic things. You know, the executive branch has grown too powerful, and that's because Congress is afraid to make hard decisions. They're afraid to say, they didn't say yes or no on the Iran war. They just punted it. So they should be talking about that. Tariffs, they didn't say yes or no on tariffs. They just let the executive branch run with it. And we needed someone there to be our voice. We had no voice in those decisions, and those decisions are affecting our ag producers. You know, with higher input costs, higher diesel costs, fertilizer costs aren't expected to come down until 2028, and that's if everything goes well. So, and then we lost our markets to tariffs. That Chinese market is not coming back. So proper representation would have taken care of that, would have at least been a voice out there fighting for us on that, but we've heard nothing. And we've heard nothing on these cost overruns, you know, just really getting there and, you know, seeing something, saying something, doing something, and, you know, figuring out what we can do right away to, you know, damage control, and then how do we build a better future for our kids and our grandkids when we're staring at this huge deficit and an enormous debt that they have just dug us deeper and deeper into. And that was what Julie Fedorchak said motivated her to get into the race in 2024, was the debt and the deficit. That's what she's worried about. But she's voted for every single thing that has increased the deficit, increased the debt, dug that hole that our kids and grandkids are going to have to dig out of.
You know, I don't know why reducing the debt isn't a bigger problem. Like, that's the number one thing, right? Is to get the government running efficiently, and none of our elected officials, whether it's Kramer or Hoeven or Fedorchak, have done anything to try to reduce that debt load, and our budgets is bigger than ever.
I think the important thing is the tax break.
Yeah.
if you are Representative Fedorchak or Senator Kramer or Senator Hoven, it was to give your friends a tax break. It wasn't to help the working class. It wasn't to help the middle class. It wasn't to help North Dakotans. That's why we're totally fine with ruining our healthcare system even more following the votes on the one big beautiful bill. It's a sad story.
And if you're in Congress and you give people a tax break, no one's going to confront you for cutting their taxes. That's an easy thing to do. They're afraid to do the hard things, and the hard things need to be done or we're going to continue to dig this hole. So, we need folks that are willing to go there, do the hard things, and then when you come back, people will confront you, and that's okay. It's not something to be scared of. You should be, you go to Congress. Even if I go to Congress, I'll be a freshman. But I'm a freshman in Congress, not a freshman in high school. I have a podium, I have a voice, and I would use that voice for North Dakota.
Well, I appreciate that. Trygve Hammer, a voice for the people. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza. Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Welcome back from those messages from our special sponsors. And I got to tell you what, I got a story from that campaign trail. I loved parading and introducing you. I would almost have this shtick where I would say, you guys, this is my friend Trygve Hammer. He's running for U.S. House and he can fly a plane, he can drive a train. This is Trygve, and I had it down so well, and I'm excited to do that again next week.
Yeah. Well, in that same time, I'd be like, this is my friend Pat Hart. He's a contractor. He worked in the oil fields. So it was kind of fun to to work off of each other that way.
Dirt under my nails.
Yeah. Yeah, we both had a lot of North Dakota dirt under
I
our fingernails.
almost cut my neck off this morning moving a piece of corrugated panel. Can you see that still? Is
Oh,
that
man.
Jesus, Pat.
I thought it was just a little nick, and then all of a sudden it was like there's a little bit of blood there.
That's the weirdest hickey I've ever seen.
Do you have any stories from the trail this cycle?
Well, so this cycle we've had a lot of fun meeting with more Republican crowds, and those panels were really fun for answering questions. And when I was in Castleton, a young man asked me to sign a yard sign for him. Kind of felt like a rock star. So that was fun, and this young man is kind of emblematic of some of the things we're seeing out there. What does he see coming down the line? Well, he sees there's this Iran war. So young people his age are going into this conflict when, after we thought we'd learned lessons from Iraq and Afghanistan, and we're going to be careful about getting into these things. And the other thing he sees is pretty soon he's going to have to pay for his own health care insurance. So he's conservative, he's pro-life, but he wants universal health care. And that's understandable from his point of view. So we've been finding all of these points of agreement, and you're always surprised. And even the person who does say I'd vote for a dog before I'd vote for a Democrat, if you talk to him for a while, you do find those points of commonality. So that's just been kind of the general feeling, and we're not getting worn out as much this time. We haven't left any reptiles behind. Haven't seen any turtles. But what Katrina leaves out of that, the way I remember it, is we're going down the road. We're like going about 80 miles an hour. And she had me unbuckle my seatbelt and open the door to get this turtle. She's like, "You get that turtle!" And I failed. And then there was a lady behind us, like Mad Max, driving a school bus. She had like a spiked helmet on, and we knew that turtle was toast. But
yeah, the Wikipedia page for that turtle, the death section is school bus. I didn't know if it was a woman or a man. I didn't remember the helmet. I was too focused on holding Trigby while he was hanging out the door. So that is one thing I miss. I'm not running this cycle. But I do miss being out on the trail talking to voters. I think Trigby told me, wasn't that young man from TP USA?
Yeah, he was with Talking Points USA.
Or Turning Point.
Or Turning Point USA, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we can find common ground with anybody. And I think what I bring or would bring to the U.S. House, and it's the same thing I bring to the campaign trail, is if I have a superpower, it's my curiosity. So when you just, you tell me you're never going to vote for a Democrat, well, I want to know a little bit more about why that is. And when I would go to Congress, what I would say is, what do we want this policy to do? How much is it going to cost? What might be some good side effects we weren't expecting, and also what might be some unintended consequences? And then after you look at that policy down the road a little ways, you say, did it do what we wanted to do? And did it cost what we expected, or did it cost more? Did it cost less? Is it something we should build on or replicate? So, that curiosity, I think, is important, because that curiosity puts you in charge of where you're going. Whereas if you're just waiting for Mike Johnson to say what he wants, then you're never going to get positive control of the ship. It's going to go wherever he wants to point it, or whoever say the Democrats take it. And the other thing skeptical voters should remember is that if I get there, the DCCC will not have provided any money. I will go to Congress not owing anything really to the Democratic Party, just owing everything to the people who put me in office, and remembering that every single day.
And I just, we just had the primary here in the month of June. And one thing, that I called Trigby about after the election results came in is that, he almost got 20,000 more votes this cycle than he did in 2024 in the primary. And what I saw when I looked at the data was there's a changing electorate. Right? Sometimes we get caught up in these stories that we tell ourselves, and we think that everything's stagnant, everything's the same. But the reality is, listening to this, Trigby talk about being on the campaign trail, talking to these young men, that see themselves in Trygve, I think a little bit, is that there's a changing electorate. It is going to happen this cycle. I think Trygve Hammer is who you should be voting for. He's willing to do the work. Like you said, his superpower is curiosity. I think that's kind of funny. What's yours, Pat?
Well, I was actually going to follow up with curiosity killed the Pat.
That's a dad joke.
We used to have this book called The Way Things Worked. It was a beautifully illustrated book, and I really want to understand how it all works and how it all fits together. I would say, though, my superpower is connectivity. I like to connect the dots. I like to bring things together. And I'm a contractor, but I'm not necessarily a great carpenter, but I can bring it all together real well and communicate through all that. So that's what, my leadership circle is all about. So any upcoming events? How can we interact with your campaign in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I will be in Fessenden tonight for a candidate forum. And we got the state parade coming up. We got 4th of July. We'll be in Mandan. I'm accepting invitations, anytime that we can. If we can be there, we will be there. And I want folks to remember that, we have that Ag Week debate invite for the Big Iron Farm Show in September. It would be a great event. Remember to call the Fedorchak campaign and let them know how much you're looking forward to being there for a debate. And same thing in Minot State Fair. We're both going to be there, and call and let their campaign know how much you would really love to attend or watch a debate in Minot over that period of time during the state fair. So that's right around the 19th of July, I think, the state parade. So the Hammer campaign has said, we'll do whatever we have to do to accommodate the Congresswoman's schedule. So just let them know, and we can have a good debate.
But you can't take care of the fear. She's so afraid to be in public, to be countered, to be challenged. Your campaign can't help her with that. So
I'm really excited that we have a Democratic candidate in the House today that's really encouraging everyone to call his opponent and get her more into the race.
Can I just bring up, I think in Fessenden, isn't that the community that had their wastewater treatment plant doged out? Like they were in line to get millions of dollars so that they could have wastewater treatment, and it was cut.
I'm going to believe you. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Well, and that's really, my hometown, Pembina, North Dakota, is going through substantial pain right now. They have a bridge that's about 120 years old, and they can't find funding to fix it. DOT just came in to shut it down 2 weeks before the 4th of July celebration, and we need people to go talk about infrastructure, to go get infrastructure dollars. And I remember a president just recently, I think it was Joe Biden, that passed a big infrastructure bill to fix things just like that. And if you drive around the state, I'm sure you'll see all the big signs that say, this project's been funded by the infrastructure bill by Joe Biden. But I haven't seen any of those.
I think that
for Donald Trump. Have you?
I have not. Well, and during the first Trump administration, remember it was infrastructure week many times, but it never happened because it always got derailed by a different scandal. So, but this is the kind of thing we can afford. Probably, well, I'm going to say definitely the arch by Arlington that they want to do. This administration wants to do will be more expensive than repairing that bridge. The ballroom will be far more expensive than repairing that bridge. Maybe even the cleanup of the reflecting pool, which now is going to have to be recleaned and resurfaced because a company that wasn't qualified got a no-bid contract and went over budget and didn't get the job done. There's opportunity costs for that money. Everybody can think of something that it could have been spent on that would have been better for us as a nation. And we need people in Congress who will call that out, who will, if nothing else, say something about it.
Trygve, I got 2 minutes left. Can I ask you to make a pitch to all your constituents on why we should vote for Trygve Hammer this election cycle?
My future constituents, fellow North Dakotans. Like I've said, I go to DC, I owe the party nothing. I go there as a curious person, a person who's been immersed in leadership. I am that Naval Academy graduate, and I went there and I taught leadership later on. And they like to call it a leadership laboratory. And I understand that leadership, a large part of it is about character. It's about daring to take chances, it's about having that moral courage to admit when you're wrong and to push for what you like or for what you think is right, even if there might be consequences. And then it's always about coming back and being answerable to the people. So like I said, the only mandate I would take with me to Congress is to do my job and to come back and face my constituents.
Trigby, I see you as a man with great courage, great intrigue, and I definitely see those as two amazing skills in leadership.
Intrigue or integrity?
Can I give them both?
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I think so.
I think he's curious about a lot, and I want someone to go to DC that's curious to put together solutions, because we obviously haven't seen any. And I would say we've seen a failure in leadership from Republicans. And if you see that too, please just try someone new. If you're not happy with the way your government's working, try voting for a Democrat, like my friend Trigby Hammer. Thanks for your time today.
Come on in and experience small-town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and the team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Hello, friends. This is Culture Crossroads. Join me, Andrew Southbridge, and my co-hosts, R.C. Williams and Juliana Ormond, as we tackle the issues shaping America. From politics to pop culture, to faith, freedom, family, and the future. From a faith-based conservative perspective that you won't get anywhere else. We stand at the intersection of faith and freedom. This is Culture Crossroads. Culture Crossroads, Sundays at 5 p.m. Central on BEK TV.
Hi, I'm Scott Hinnon, host of the What's on Your Mind program on BEK TV now. From Baker, Montana to St. Cloud, Minnesota, and everywhere in between. We're looking forward to having a conversation with you about what matters most. We're talking to newsmakers, from members of Congress to the state legislature, and most importantly, the good folks that make up the great state of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Montana. Every single day, you get a chance to tell us what's on your mind. And now you can watch What's on Your Mind live on BEK TV.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Hey, I'm Corey Heppola, and a long time ago, I left my small town for a big city. Now, I wonder, what would it be like to move rural?
Just because we're small doesn't mean we can't have nice things.
So, I'm traveling to different small towns across the Midwest to find out.
It's like every year in the spring, there's always like a revitalization of just excitement.
This is my town.
Oh, jeez.
Sunday night, 6:30 on BEK TV.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. BEK's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on BEK News app. Search your app store now.